here with Peter Valkenburg, and he's the CTO of Everett, and John Hermans, who's the associate partner with KPMG, both long-term eema members. And just like to talk about some of the things that have come up. You've conducted this survey throughout Europe on with end users about the maturity of identity and access systems, IAM. How many countries did it cover?
The good thing is that we touch upon 23 countries. 128 organizations did participate. And the basic objective was really to show what's the current market status of identity and access management. And also to answer the question, is the economy really pushing then this marketplace, and what's happening, are budgets being cut, or what's the future of identity management in this area?
And are companies implementing full IAM?
Well, actually there's a change there, you could say. If you look over the involvement over the last couple of years, then there seems to be a tendency to work more towards point solutions rather than doing entire and complete implementations. And there is, of course, a relation that can be made with the economic crisis there. As budgets get tighter, I think you could say that the focus of people implementing identity and access management is changing, and consequently the programs are affected.
However, there are some of the early adopters, especially in the financial services market, who already engaged in 2003 or 2004 in this market. So there are some case studies. Are they really done? Probably not. But there are some initiatives, some large-scale initiatives where people are actually trying to implement a full identity management solution there.
So the financial crisis is affecting the project scope within companies?
Well, I think the financial crisis is for the bigger than projects and programs with some huge budgets. I think budgets above than 1 million euros is probably hitting those kinds of projects. So that means in terms of available funding, but also in terms of scope, probably also to do it somewhat slower, or probably focus on some point solutions like Peter is mentioning. Yeah.
And what are the main drivers for implementation?
Actually, that caused a little bit of surprise to us. We were expecting something like that, but it was far more clear than we expected. What we've seen actually, if you divide the three main drivers for identity and access management into things which are related to compliance and security on one hand. The second one is business enablement, being better to work with partners and customers, for instance. And the third one is efficiency, being able to operate more smoothly and at lower cost. Then it turns out that things which are related to security, compliance, governance, etc. are by far the main driver for the respondents that we got into the survey. And it must be said though that differs per sector. For instance, what we found also is that if you look into the financial sector particularly, and this is very strongly so, maybe up to 80% or above, see compliance as a major driver for identity and access management. Whereas if you look into more consumer-oriented markets, think about web shops, etc., that's much less the case. And for instance, business enablement is an important driver there too.
So within these organizations, who drives these projects, and who are the stakeholders?
Probably that are the two different groups, the driving and being stakeholder. What you see is that you see that still, the CIO or the IT part is still driving the projects. However, the stakeholders then should be definitely on the business side. So the business side meaning the chief operating officer, but also if your business case is really compliance, it should be the chief compliance officer, so the chief financial officer. And that should be really in the seeing that committee as the stakeholders in your project or program.
Yeah. And there's also an interesting relation there with the fact that compliance is one of the major drivers, because what you see over time now is that security officers, risk officers, etc. Are becoming a more important owner or responsible role within the organization for doing identity and access management, much more so than, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep. And did the survey throw up any future trends?
I think what you're seeing there is probably the trend. What we're seeing is that people are are probably doing a step back. They're looking for more than point solutions to prove the value of full identity management, to start with projects with a smaller scope, probably which are satisfying the needs of the business much than earlier. Instead of a couple of years, the trend was let's put up a full-blown strategy in which we're going to try to fix everything. On the provisioning side, it's on the IT side, on the authentication side, but also on the business side. Yeah. I think that's is it something new? No, it's probably back to reality. I think that's also the crisis is, I think, also giving a sign then to the industry and also to the users of this kind of solutions, probably to think first and then start acting, instead of only thinking, hey, let's try to move to a 100% full-blown, nice automated solution, which we probably will never have anyhow.
Yeah, one of the things I think that came out of the survey very clearly on that is that if you look at the focus of organizations in doing identity and access management is still mostly on their employees and much less, for instance, in terms of partners or customers. And if you compare that with the focus in the industry, where you see a lot of development around federation, user-centric identity, and that sort of thing, there appears to be a difference of perception there. What the industry thinks is important is not necessarily what customers think right now is important. I think you might expect, though, that as the crisis goes by, there will be more focus on business enablement and stuff related to that. And the consequence will also be that we will find back in the statistics that is found more important, and that more projects in that area will be done.
Yeah, I think it's fair to state that currently people are only investing money what they should be doing. It's time for FUD, fear, uncertainty and doubt. So that's the reason why I think people are just focusing on investing on what they should be doing, caused by regulators. I think that's also the reason why GRC is so prominent, the biggest driver there. I think we all in the industry, we hope, of course, that also the people start to realize that you also can, of course, then make some money with these kind of solutions, so that you can optimize your business process, that you can faster onboard and offboard the large communities of users than as a result of a merger or a demerger. So I think when that thinking starts over again, I think then we are back in our happy scenarios then again, I think, and hopefully not as those FUD scenarios, as I call them.
And did anyone mention IAM, an identity in the cloud?
Actually, we did not directly ask for that level of detail. What we have found, though, is that there may be some major hindrances in doing that. And one of them is that we asked people what, in terms of architectural principles, they thought was important for identity and access management solutions. Yeah. And what came out of that is that, for instance, open standards, but also loose coupling is not high on the agenda. And those two are pretty hard requirements from an architectural point of view for things like identity as a service or for putting things into the cloud. So again, I think that's a subject which is flying below the radar currently, which will probably become more important in the coming years. But I think it's too early to say that there is a wave of identity in the cloud or identity as a service coming up.
So the survey is produced. Where can people find out more about it if they're not here?
Oh yeah, we will distribute it across the whole Europe. So I think the good thing is it's on the website of Everett, it's on the website of KPMG, it will be on the website of EMA. Probably I think it will be also on the website of IR. And what we will organize also as the two companies, several roundtables across several countries, like in the UK and Italy, to actually also start explaining more. And probably, hopefully, to put some more reality in this market, but also show that identity management is still in the spotlight. It's one of the foundation elements. It's fundamental for controlling how you do business. I think that's also a message what should be explained more and more. It's not about technology. It's about governance. It's about processes. It's about how to be in control of how you do business, and managing identities and access is a part of it. It's basically an obligation for every manager. So I think we need to bring that back in that culture of thinking. That's the reason why we put a lot of effort in making these nice reports, doing that almost every year, and start using all for us to actually give a message. Yeah.